Hello everybody, welcome to Build Fly Go. So as you may have seen in other videos, I am due for my annual condition inspection on this aircraft. It's called an annual inspection for certified aircraft, but it's called a condition inspection for experimental aircraft. It's basically the same setup once a year on the 12th month, by the end of the 12th month. Something like that. You have to inspect the aircraft per the manufacturer's guidelines. As I am the manufacturer, I created a set of guidelines. It's a large number of pages of things that I need to check, and I go through them every year and I inspect everything. You basically bring the aircraft out of service and remove all of the inspection covers. And check everything from make sure the lights are all working, make sure the bearings are all greased, make sure all of the bearing surfaces are clean and in good condition, check all the push rods, check all the control surfaces, check the filters, all of these kinds of things, do an oil change, check the oil, all of these kinds of things to keep us flying safe and making sure everything's going as planned. I'll have a few different videos on this. We're going to be doing one on the engine, sort of a general one that shows the time lapse of all of this. And if there are other interesting ones that you guys want to see, just let me know in the comments. So, a quick overview of what we have here. So this is a Continental Titan IO-340. It's very similar to the 360, 320 Lycoming engine, but this is the 340. So it's the effectively stroked 320. So it makes 180 horse. I am using the airflow performance fuel injection system that we can see down there and down there. But otherwise, it's pretty stock. When I ordered this engine from Continental, they basically ask you a bunch of questions about how you want it configured, what's important to you, what you want to see, what ignition you want, what fuel system you want, colors, all of the above. So I picked this pretty blue to match the rest of the airplane with the silver that you see here. And it's fantastic. It's got the nice stainless covers. You'll notice that the cylinders have these tapered fins, so it's lightened, but it still has really good cooling and really good airflow. And you'll notice that the casting is really nice, right? Like you'll usually look at these cylinders in airplanes and the castings are nasty and it's full of burrs and all sorts of imperfections, but these castings are really nice, which really helps with cooling, or it saves you a bunch of time from having to go in there and clean up all of the castings to make sure that it cools well. As you can see, it's the airflow performance fuel injection system, which Continental installed for us when they built the engine out. Let's see, what else did we pick here? So they have this nice option for a nice angled oil filter adapter. Most of the Lycomings come stock with the oil filter coming straight out, which is a pain and makes a mess. And not to mention, it would use up a ton of space over here where it's already sort of tight. So there's this option for the angled adapter, so it comes out this way. Which works out really well. As you may have seen before, I have PMAGs. I have dual PMAGs installed, so a modern ignition system instead of magnetos. What else do we have? Oh, right, and of course, I use auto spark plugs instead of the aviation spark plugs. With the PMAGs, you're able to do this safely, and it works great. And one of the main benefits, of course, other than things like hotter ignition and things like that, one of the main benefits to me is these spark plugs are $2.50 a piece, which means for me to replace all 8 spark plugs, what is that? 4 of them is $10, so $20. So what I do is every annual, I just replace all my spark plugs. I don't gap them. I don't look at them. I just tear them out and replace them because it's cheap enough that I can have fresh spark plugs every year for, almost nothing in aviation money. Let's see what else. So I picked the crank is set up for whatchamacallit, a ground adjustable prop, so not a constant speed prop, but it is a hollow crank. It's just got the plugs in it, so at any point in the future I could change to the constant speed prop. And of course there's the spot back there where I would install the governor. Continental will show you this a little better. Some of the valves are pretty special in here. There's Venturi valves, and we'll cut to them in a moment for them to see that. But yeah, lots of little things that make this engine special. It's really light is one of the things I like as well. For the amount of power it makes, it is incredibly light. I did pick the compression, so the pistons are 9-to-1 compression instead of a lower compression. And what that means is I'm more efficient, right? So I'm burning the fuel air mixture at a higher pressure, which makes the burn a little more efficient. The downside, of course, there's always a downside. No power is free. The downside is that I cannot use anything other than 100 octane fuel at this point, which is fine. So I just burn aviation gas, which is 100 low lead. If you want, you can choose a low compression piston cylinder setup, and set yourself up for other fuels. So you could maybe do motor gas, car gas, something like that, or one of the new, I think it's 92 UL or something like that. But I went with the more efficient setup, partially because I think there's like one airport nearby where I can get motor gas, car gas, and there's a couple of places where I can get 92 UL, and they're not meaningfully cheaper. Definitely not the 92 UL is not meaningfully cheaper around here. As you've seen my flights down to Monroe, I get, I think they're like $3.10 to $3.15 per gallon right now. So was not really worth the trouble of finding cheaper gas. But yeah, so this is just a quick overview of my engine. Let's cut to Continental and see what they want to add, what additional fun little details they want to add. Maybe there's going to be a cutout of an engine.
Thanks, Gil. Hello, my name is James Ball. I'm the Titan Engine Sales Manager for Continental. We are pleased to bring the Titan engine to home builders for various airframes. We customize them, like Gil said, to your configuration. We like to build an engine that has the power-to-weight ratio, the displacement, the ignition and fuel delivery systems that you would like to have on your aircraft. Gil went with a 340. The 340 is actually the same size and a little bit less weight than the traditional 320 engine. So fitment, dimensionally, it's the same as the 320, but you have the advantage of the additional displacement and the additional power. There are a number of unique advantages to the Titan engine. We've enhanced the crankcase and crankshaft interface with steel thrust washers. We have a nickel carbide, nice plated cylinders, of course. Gil will discuss that in more detail. He also mentioned Venturi valves. It's actually not a Venturi valve, it's a Venturi valve seat. These valve seats are of a Allison design. The shrink fit is into the aluminum head by this step diameter. Traditionally, these seats have a straight inside diameter. In the Titan engine, the inside diameter of the seat actually has a rounded edge. it causes a restriction in the venturi. It accelerates the charge of air and fuel that enters into the cylinder. So when the valve opens, you get more air and fuel in there, and it increases the power output of the engine. Back to Gil for a closer look at the cylinders.
A couple of additional fun things in this engine that Continental did for us. So the cylinder linings are a ceramic material. I believe they call it NIC3. It used to be called Cerminil, if you've heard that before. So it's a ceramic lining instead of a chrome lining. And for one, it gives you a really long warranty. They add a big warranty onto that, but also it makes it so that break-in is really easy. My break-in was insanely simple, but also it makes it so that it's very hard for those to corrode, right? So one of the things that you hear about airplanes that don't fly very often is that they tend to have a corrosion issue in the pistons and the cylinder walls. And there's a corrosion warranty on these cylinders, and they look like I've done a boroscope. I boroscope these every year, and they just still look new. It's incredible. They've got almost 600 hours on them, 592 hours on them, and they look, like I just got them and installed them. It's incredible. I also have a magnesium oil sump. And that, I believe, is about 7 pounds lighter than the regular oil sump. I believe the regular one is aluminum. Maybe Conti will show us the two different options. And people talk about magnesium sumps. So the old magnesium sumps that you found in old Cessnas had a bit of a corrosion issue way back then. But that's not the case with this one. So this sump has a corrosion coating, a conversion coating that's done. Similar idea to Aladyne, if you've heard of Aladyne, so that the surface, any surface that gets exposed can't corrode. So it sort of solves the corrosion problem that happened with the old magnesium sumps, and still gets you the 7 pounds lighter. When it comes to airplanes, any lightening that you can do that is easy and doesn't cost very much is really worth doing, because it means you get better performance and you can carry more stuff. What else? The engine is really smooth. Another thing that Continental does, which I noticed right away, usually. So if you fly a 6-cylinder engine and you fly a 4-cylinder engine, you'll notice a couple of different things. One of them is the noise is very different, right? The 6-cylinder engine, because for each proper revolution, you've got 2 extra cylinders moving. I'm sorry, 2 extra, well, I guess the cylinders move as well, vibrate. You get 2 extra pistons moving. The sound is different. So it sounds sort of almost a smoother sound, a denser sound. And the other thing that you hear people talk about is the vibration is different. It vibrates in a different way because there's more things moving. But one of the things that Continental does is they dynamically balance a lot of the parts in here, which reduces that vibration quite significantly. So that's pretty cool. I know some of the other manufacturers do it, and you have to pay extra for that, and that's just one of the things that comes with these engines. I've talked about the options that I picked for this engine, the different things. I think one of the cool things that you get from working with Continental is it's all customizable, right? So I picked the color. The color, I shipped them a piece of powder-coated airplane that I already had powder-coated, and they matched it, right? So they matched that color to the engine and had it custom painted. They were willing to work with me on whichever fuel injection system I wanted. So you can do the legacy style mechanical fuel injection, or you can use an EFI system if you want to do that instead. They were happy to do PMAGs instead of the legacy stuff. And it was just great to be able to, bounce ideas with them. So I had questions about, why would I pick this one brand of fuel injection system instead of another, or why would I do this or that? And they, provided feedback, right? Like they told me we've done so many engines with this, so many engines with that. We haven't had any issues with this, or we haven't had issues with that, or this is what you should expect. So they really act like a trusted advisor, right? Like they're interested in you being happy, right? The engine not having issues. Of course, every vendor doesn't want their product to have issues, but as they're acting as an advisor, they can tell you, this configuration works well, this configuration does not work well. We recommend you do this, we recommend you do that. But with tons of flexibility on customizing.
As Gil mentioned, each of these engines that we build are to your specifications as a home builder. We have a lot of different options for weight reduction, increased power, fuel delivery, ignition, and so forth. Some of the standard features are the dynamically balanced rotating assembly. The pistons are all exact same gram weight. The connecting rods are within 3 grams of one another. And the rotating assembly is balanced here at the factory on machines that spin them. Another advantage of the Titan engine is that we run it in for 3 hours. The 3-hour run-in gives us the opportunity to check temperatures, make sure there are no leaks, and it gets the break-in off to a very good start. Break-in is very important with a new engine. The NIC3 cylinders break in very easily, as Gil mentioned in his video, but the ability for us to do it under controlled conditions, the run-in period of time really is a great advantage. Once that's accomplished, the engine is touched up and preserved for storage up to a year. On the support side of things, we have a great support team, technical support. They're available by phone or email. And those gentlemen are really sharp, and they're at your request can come up with solutions to any problems you might come into. Back to you, Gil.
So let's talk a little bit about service and warranty, right? So this was the first aircraft that I built, definitely the first new engine that I even saw outside of an air show. And I was pretty concerned about things like, when something goes wrong, this is a really expensive purchase, right? Like by no means is this cheap. It's a really expensive purchase. I wanted to make sure I had good support. So I mentioned earlier that there used to be an option for you to, and I don't know if there still is, there might be, an option for you to go and do what they called a builder assist, where you go and basically watch your engine specifically being built by one of the techs or engineers at Titan Continental. And so I went down there and I met a lot of the support guys, a lot of the engineers, everybody involved. I got to say hello, and they were excited about the engine. But one of the things that I discovered is that their support was phenomenal, right? So I got the engine, I installed it on my airplane, I had a bunch of questions, I'd shoot them emails, and I'd get responses pretty darn quickly. For things that I needed an answer right away, you can call, there's a number, and someone would pick up, and it was hilarious because the person who picked up the first time I called was the guy who built my engine, and he knew exactly, whenever I was talking about something on the engine, he knew exactly what I was talking about. So Continental and techs there really helped throughout the, also the selection of the option for the engine, but through my installation of the engine, my first run, any questions I had about tuning. So that's really invaluable, right? Like support for something like this is incredibly important. And it's something that I was concerned about when picking an engine for my aircraft. I really was looking at, can I save some money and get a used engine? And I didn't want to have just a random engine off of some other airplane and just put it on my airplane, right? I think the cheapest option I was willing to do would be buy a flying engine from someone, have it torn down and overhauled. And I did the math on that, and it didn't make sense to me. If I was going to have it be overhauled by someone who, a trustworthy company, right? Like a company that does this not just once or twice a year, but does this as part of their business, the costs were so close to buying a new engine that it just didn't make sense to me to do that, right? Like if for a little bit more, I could end up with, this great support and a new engine, it made sense to spend, a little bit more and do that. So I recommend, feel free to ask me questions about that on the comments. I'm happy to talk about it, but yeah, it's definitely something to consider in your math. You'll notice I just walked by I'm in the middle of an inspection, so I'm doing a repair on my baffles right now, unrelated to the engine, which is why the oil cooler is off to the side here and there's a gap. What else? I believe there's a 2-year warranty, which I am unfortunately about to run out on warranty. I haven't had to use it. I've used their support, and I imagine that they will continue to be happy to answer my email questions over the next many years if I have any. I haven't had to use the support. I believe they gave me 1 year from the date that the engine was shipped to me for me to be able to install it, right? So it could sit on my shelf for a year, and then the rest of the support started, which was the 2 years. And so I believe I kept it for about a year before we finally had it started and installed. And then the 2 years, start then on that installation date for me. So, yep, I believe I'm right at 2 years now. So my warranty is up, but didn't have to use it. It's been flawless. It's been fantastic. And note that this is a 600-hour engine, right? This engine has gone through 600 hours, which I believe is about a quarter of its life already, and it looks phenomenal, right? Like it does not, like there is not, big oil stains and splotches. It's pretty damn clean. I mean, there is, it's an airplane engine, so there are always going to be 1 or 2 little oil drops here and there, right? Like there's sort of the expected oil stuff. But if you look in the cowling of any airplane out there on the ramp with an engine with 600, 1,000 hours, something like that, it looks nothing like this. It's an oily, dirty mess. So kudos to you guys. You guys did a fantastic job. So I just wanted to talk real quick about the choice of this engine, the IO-340, for the airframe, right, which is an RV9. I've been surprised and incredibly impressed by how efficient it's been. I know you guys saw the trip to Brazil that we did in this airplane, which was flawless, right? We had no issues, no hiccups, no problems at all. And it was just the amount of fuel that we burnt was surprising, right? Like it was just so low. It was a 12,000 mile trip, I think, was overall what we did. And I'll show you the numbers here. And we were burning, we were up high for a lot of it, and we were burning very little. So it's impressive, right? This combination of the IO-340, the PMAG system, and the airflow performance fuel injection seems to really be a gem on the RV9 9A. So highly recommended. If you're building a 9 or 9A, I would say this is the engine that you want. Continental is not paying me for this endorsement. Continental did help with the trip, and I think I've mentioned that before. They paid for some of the fuel, and we're very thankful. But this is all me talking about this engine, and talking about things that have worked well for us. This is all me. So endorsement warning. They did help out with some of the fuel there, but yeah, I wouldn't tell you to get a similar setup if I didn't think it was phenomenal. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. This was a fun video to do with Continental, talking about our engine and about the trip and the choices we've made. We're coming to the end of 2020. It's been a bit of an odd year, tough for a lot of us. And I wanted to thank you all for sticking with it and giving us feedback and telling us about your trips and what you're building and what's worked for you and letting us know what you want to see in videos and all of that great stuff. Please subscribe, share the videos with your friends, and let's get some growth through the channel. We're at 2,500 subscribers. Let's see how soon we can make it to 5,000. All right, enjoy the holidays. Thanks again. Have a good one.